Good morning. It is my pleasure and my honor to share with you today a personal journey that I've had the opportunity to go on. As many of you are aware, the Islamic Garden, Alberta was recently inaugurated. As part of that, I was volunteering to engage the community. In this role, I learned that this garden is part or a family of parks and gardens from across the world. And these parks and gardens have been restored or developed by His Highness the Aga Khan, who is the spiritual leader of the Shia Ismaili Muslim community globally. And this has been done by the Aga Khan Trust for Culture, which I may refer to as AKTC. What was really interesting to me in this journey was that these spaces of parks and gardens can serve as catalysts to communities and can improve communities economically, socially, culturally, and personally. And often there's this misperception that these spaces can be unproductive or possibly even a burden. However, I would challenge to say that if they are thought out carefully and conceived properly, they can actually improve the lives of the people. I'd like to transport you today from Calgary to Cairo, where we're going to go to see Alazhar Park in Egypt. As many of you are aware, Cairo is the 15th largest metropolis city in the world. And like any other metropolis city, it suffers from overcongestion. It has a density issue where population growth and migration from the countryside to the center often leaves migrants squeezed into alleyways with very limited water, limited sanitation, and absentee landlords. This city of 1,000 minarets has very limited green space. And it is for this reason that the Aga Khan Trust for Culture convened a conference in 1984 on how Cairo was going to deal and cope with these demands of increased urban growth. And at that time, His Highness committed to the development of Alazhar Park. So the question is, where do you build a park in a place that is so dense? The only site that was central and sizable enough was the Darasa site, 30 hectares. The issue is that it was a landfill. It was full of rubble and garbage that had been accruing for over 500 years. So as you can imagine, it was going to pose a slight technical challenge. How are plants going to grow here? There was testing and retesting that was done from all across Egypt to find the right conditions, because you can imagine the soil was peculiar, the climate, the terrain. They needed to remove 1.5 million cubic meters of garbage, 80,000 truckloads, if you can imagine. And in doing so, when they started removing all of this garbage, they found a 12th century wall from the Ayyubid dynasty. And like AKTC does, the residents in the area, the communities surrounding this, are not just seen as stakeholders or as beneficiaries, but they become participants in the project. And so they rebuilt this wall to its former natural glory. And we all know that when you bring back pieces of history, you're not simply bringing back memories, but you're actually bringing back lessons learned. And it is for those lessons learned that we are where we are today, and we plan where we're going tomorrow. So that surrounding community that actually participated and dug out garbage and actually rebuilt the wall learned the skills to rebuild their own homes and their communities. And there's a community next to the park known as Darb al-Ahmar, and it was a low-income community. And these individuals actually restored their neighborhood. So it was a surrounding benefit of this park. And today, you can see that Alazhar Park has become the green lung of Cairo. It is a place where people connect, where people breathe and rejuvenate. As you walk through this park, you will see that people from all different backgrounds, all ages, come together. There is a place for recreation. There's a place for leisure. This park overlooks Cairo. It has over 650,000 plants. And by virtue of that, needed 3 very large water reservoirs to be built. I can only imagine what the residents of Darb al-Ahmar must have felt from living next to a garbage dump and the apathy that one may feel to living next to a park and possibly having a sense of pride, where they may have wondered just what today had in store for them, to actually being able to go somewhere and freely think about tomorrow or about future generations, or even reflecting on what previous generations may have done or may have had. This park has become a cultural place where people come and enjoy. It runs at a surplus today from entrance tickets and restaurants. This park has become self-sustainable, and this park has changed the lives of the community that surrounds it. If only we could think green space has that ability. I'm going to now take you some 3,000 kilometers away to Kabul, Afghanistan. And I'm going to take you to the period of 2007 and 2008. And if you recall at that time, what the media was portraying was images of war, destruction, devastation, despair. And it was at that time that His Highness committed to the resurrection or the redevelopment of Baghe Babur Garden, which was a 16th century garden with the first Mughal Emperor Babur's tomb inside the garden. So you may ask, after 25 years of conflict, were there no other pressing needs like food, infrastructure, safety? Equal to those needs was the need for hope, tangible hope, not hope from the promise of politicians, but hope that the citizens could actually hold on to and think that tomorrow may be a better day. The war destroyed the original garden because of the bullets degrading the artillery, and all that was left was this very single water channel. And this garden was rebuilt around that water channel. And when you talk to people from Afghanistan who were there at the time and went there, they said they walked through this iron gate and they got a taste of paradise. That when they walked through this garden, they forgot for a moment that they were in a war-torn country. Many of us who haven't had to live through a war find that a concept that might be tough to digest. This garden was restored to its natural beauty, with its planted terraces, its pavilions, the Pamir Mountains surrounding it. And this garden offered people the confidence during a time of real difficulty, perhaps a place of peace and balance, and a place to just be yourself. This garden also runs at a surplus today, from the pavilions, from the entrance fees. It is a favorite spot for many of the local people in Kabul to go to, 60,000 visitors per month. This garden has changed the lives of people during a war-torn period. And today, when you look at Kabul and you look back that 20-some years, you see, gosh, this garden changed the future of people there. I now take you to our backyard, to Edmonton, Alberta, and to the Aga Khan Garden, Alberta. Some of you may wonder, why an Islamic garden in Alberta? Aspects of South and Central Asia and Africa in these climate conditions. It is truly the northernmost Islamic garden in the world. And this garden, being an Islamic garden, is designed in a contemporary context. And what I mean by that is if you look at features of this garden, so you look at the talar, or where you see the orange kapani, which Persian word for that is a throne, overlooking the four quadrants, or we call that the charbagh, meaning four gardens or a courtyard. You see the central water source, or this common water theme in there. You look at the geometry and the symmetry within this garden. These are all Islamic features. Even when you look at this aerial drone view of this garden, doesn't it look like a Persian carpet? But all of this designed on Canadian landscape. All of this primarily made with Canadian material, Canadian labor. The specific trees that were chosen were for this climate. The flowers, the plants. But how beautiful is it that the both can interlay, this Islamic garden on a Canadian landscape can interlay so beautifully. And this garden is a place where people can go for reflection, for repose. A place where you can go and wonder about your day, maybe about your challenges, maybe about your successes. Perhaps you can reflect on our role as being environmental stewards, to leave this world, this planet, a better place than when we inhabited it. This garden has been built to last 600 years. There is a foresight in this place. This is also a garden of research and education, where graduate students from the Faculty of Agriculture and Life and Sciences come to study horticulture and botany, where young children come to have this experiential learning of man and nature, where they can learn about plants and trees and pollination. In fact, there are waterbeds at this garden that grow very rare plants, medicinal plants known as rat root, which can then be used for the reclamation of damaged land. This garden is a garden of production and reproduction. But it is also a garden that manifests pluralism. And what better place than on the Canadian landscape, a country that actually fosters pluralism, where each of us, with our unique cultures, our unique backgrounds, can come together and embrace our diversity. And when His Highness inaugurated this garden, he said that this is further proof of the divine. And I often wonder, what does that mean? Is it the fact that we can be at this place and be free to think about ourselves, our communities, future generations, generations yet unborn? Is that the blessing? Or is it about looking at this really perfect precision, man's aim at precision in the center of landscape architecture, but truly surrounded by nature's perfection, and both living in harmony? Is that the divine blessing? Is the divine blessing The idea that we can all come to this in a place that we can actually respect and admire. We come on common ground. Is that the divine blessing? When you go to this garden, be it day or be it night, you will have different thoughts. I wonder why this garden has been built for 600 years. I wonder who will walk in this garden. And what you will also notice is there's a very common theme in this garden, and it's this theme of water. And I wonder if that water represents our common humanity. You know, this garden has the water coming in from 4 ways and up through the central fountain. Is that representative of each of us coming together? That as unique and different as we are, there's perhaps some common humanity between us? Water, in and of itself, is true. It's pure. When water boils, it condenses and it comes back to being water. And when water freezes, it thaws and it comes back to being water. Is that symbolic of what we may be aspiring for? Water is what sustains plant life, animal life, our lives. Is that the divine blessing? I don't know. Or is it just the fact that we ask these questions and that we wonder? My journey has been very much around parks and gardens that have been restored or developed by the Aga Khan Trust for Culture. But I think the essence of these spaces can apply to any garden and any park, be it in our backyard in Calgary, be it Central Park, be it Bushard Gardens. My journey changed how I look at these spaces. And I'm wondering today, has your journey changed at how you look at it? Thank you.